perfectionism, it's something that a lot of us experience. It's really part and parcel with anxiety for a lot of us too, because when we're perfectionistic, it's actually often an attempt to control and curb anxiety. Because what we're doing when we shoot for perfect is that we figure, consciously or unconsciously, if we're perfect, we don't have to feel anxious about everything. We have it totally under control. But of course, perfectionism always backfires. And research shows that when we inevitably fall short of those unrealistic standards, we actually end up feeling more anxious, more depressed, have more mental health problems, and we're actually less productive, less persistent, and less creative. So there really are no upsides when it comes to perfectionism. But But there's another option that we have, and it's something that the researcher Patrick Gaudreau, who's a Canadian psychologist, what he actually terms excellence-ism. We can actually not only shoot for excellent when we pursue excellence-ism, but when we do, we actually disrupt the vicious cycle of perfectionism, and we let go of it and replace it with going for excellent. And the beauty about this is that it's still, if you're a person who wants to hold yourself to high standards, you are still able to go for excellent. But now, because we're not going for perfect, we know as excellencists that making mistakes is part of the process of getting to excellent. We know that often we have to fail to learn how to do better. We have to go for good before we go for excellent. And it's a journey, it's a process. And so with this excellencist mindset, we're better able to learn and grow, bounce back from challenges. And what the research shows that Patrick Gaudreau and others have done is that actually excellence-ists, it is a mouthful, that's the one problem with it, excellence-ists, they actually outperform perfectionists on all these important measures, from productivity to well-being to creativity, etc. So really this is about the power of mistakes, and the fact that we can go for excellent, and it's often going to be so much better than going for perfect. Thomas Edison once said, he's quoted as saying, "I haven't failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that don't work yet." And he was an excellencist, and I think we can take a look at what he achieved in his life. So I want to share with you today an exercise for becoming an excellencist. Really, it's a practice. We have to practice it little by little. I can tell you again from personal experience, you don't just dispense with perfect in a day, but it is a set of skills that we can build that actually can help us not only detect kind of the ways that we're perfectionistic, but then take that and reframe it in a more excellencist framework and take that standpoint. And there are 4 steps to try. So I want you to do this exercise with me. You can write on a piece of paper or just do it in your, do it in your head. I want you to pick one upcoming thing, something that you can think about concretely that you tend to be perfectionistic about. I'm going to think about this too as we go. So I'll talk you through sort of what I'm thinking about in my mind, but pick that one upcoming thing. Something you can really break down into its details and imagine. Okay, hopefully you got it. Now, I want you to make a list of what perfect looks like in that situation. This is a situation where you really hold yourself to this perfectionistic standard. And so what does perfect look like for you? An example that I often use that still is something I'm working on, but I'm better now, is having folks over, like hosting a dinner party or hosting a gathering. And I get really uptight about that. I feel like if my house isn't perfectly clean, if the food isn't perfectly cooked ahead of time, that that people won't have fun, or I'll be judged, or I'll feel embarrassed, or, I really, for myself, when I started working on this, I had to really articulate, well, what is it that perfect looks like? Again, it was the perfect food, the perfectly clean house, having flowers, whatever it is. I wrote all those things down. And I also looked inward and thought about, well, what are the feelings that I'm concerned about? Is it a sense of failure? Is it a sense that, again, I'll judge myself or others will judge me? knowing objectively that I usually judge myself more harshly than anyone else will, but nonetheless. So I, write all that down, take a moment. What does perfect look like for you? What is success for this thing you hold yourself to a very high standard for? I'll just give you a few moments there. Okay, so hopefully you have a little bit of an idea. And of course, this is something I hope you try on your own as well. So we'll just keep moving through. But definitely, when you try this out, take the time to get as detailed as you can. Now, once you know what perfect looks like, choose one or two things to let go of. Let go of that standard of flawlessness, not entirely, not from 0 to 100, but just in one or two small ways to start. For me, in my dinner party example, I let go of having to clean the house perfectly. And also I let go of needing to have the food catered or cooked ahead of time and just perfect and ready for everyone. So I let go of those two things. And instead, I cleaned a little bit, but I kind of left it being a little more au naturel. And also I decided to cook with my dinner guests. So I got the food ready and it was kind of prepped. But when my friends came, we all cooked together. And that brings us to step 4, which when you, I hope, practice this, you'll then be able to do. You observe what happens. How did it turn out? How did you feel? Now, when I decided to cook with my guests and not go, absolutely bonkers about cleaning the house ahead of time, I had a lot more fun. I felt relief. I felt like I was like my guests and friends were having more fun. And we cooked this really beautiful, fun meal together. And I could see, and I'd observed prior, that sometimes if, when people are around me in my perfectionistic mode, they don't feel so good. They might feel on pins and needles, or they might feel judged, and everyone just seemed to be really flowing and having an absolutely fantastic time. So I learned that there was huge payoff to letting go of some of these perfectionistic tendencies. It made my gatherings better, cozier, more fun for everyone. And so the take home here is that most of the time you'll find that shooting for really good, pretty darn good, gets you to something that is excellent. Being able to make mistakes and learn from them, it gets you to excellent, all without the burdens and burnout of perfectionism.